Good morning. I'm meteorologist Kevin Smith at the National Weather Service office in Pocatello with your Southeast Idaho weather hazard briefing for Friday, December 7th. Taking a look at the regional radar loop this morning, there's nothing going on, and that's courtesy of a broad area of high pressure that's in control across the Pacific Northwest and the Northern Rockies today. One thing we are seeing this morning is a little bit of low stratus development across the area, and this is one of our satellite products. This particular product looks in particular for low-level clouds and fog. So you can see it's lighting up a few areas here, some activity out here towards Shoshone and Cary. Also to the west of Twin Falls as you head into the Magic Valley, some low stratus clouds. It's generally about 300 to 500 feet off the surface. You can see some activity up here in the Island Park region as well. There's a little blip right here really close to the Pocatello airport, and that is actually another little area of low stratus that's been drifting in at times over the airport as we've gone over the course of the night. Now, it's pretty difficult sometimes to decide, are we going to see predominantly stratus clouds, is low stratus cloud activity, or are we going to see fog? And I think for the rest of the morning, the stratus clouds are going to dominate. That's what we've seen so far tonight. Any fog that we've seen across the region has been pretty isolated and patchy, pretty transient and moving around a little bit. But with fairly moist conditions down at the surface, and certainly indicative, we're already seeing those stratus clouds, so we know that there's some moisture available. There is a potential for a little bit of patchy freezing fog. So I've gone ahead and added that to the forecast through 11 a.m. this morning for our valleys and our plains here. Exception being in the western central mountains here, particularly up towards Stanley, north of Haley. Air mass just a little bit drier up that way, but elsewhere just be on the lookout for a little bit of patchy freezing fog as we head into the morning hours. If you do encounter any fog, of course, can make roads just a little bit slick, so practice your usual safety rules, slow down, leave plenty of extra room between you and other vehicles, and use those low beam headlights. Now, one of the reasons that we're seeing fairly saturated conditions at the surface is we're in a weather pattern right now that is favorable for what we call inversions. And if you've lived in Southeast Idaho for a while, you're probably familiar with this setup. It's where we get really good radiational cooling right at the surface. We see the heat right at the surface and ground level escape out into the atmosphere really effectively. And when we get that cold air at the surface cooling quicker than the air that's above it in the atmosphere, that cold air becomes trapped. That cold air can't rise through the warmer air above. So we see the lower air mass right at the surface decouple from the overall wind flow. We see winds get really light right down at ground level, and that tends to give us more of a stagnant air mass, and we see that during the overnight and morning hours. And that's certainly the pattern that we're in not only this morning, it's going to continue right through the weekend, Saturday morning, Sunday morning, and likely Monday morning as well. So we'll have to continue to be on the lookout for a little bit of fog across the region. And another side effect of these inversion air masses is we see a little bit of a degradation in our air quality, and this is a capture of the latest conditions from the real-time air monitoring data provided by the Idaho Department of Environmental Quality. You can see the sensors here across much of central, southern, and eastern Idaho generally range from good or green to moderate or yellow. And we're expecting that to continue for the next several mornings with those inversions in place. And actually, some of you may have noticed we did have a little bit of haze around the area during the day yesterday, also indicative of that more stagnant low-level air mass. Low temperatures, very cold again this morning, particularly in some of our normally colder locales like Stanley, the Copper Basin area, the Island Park area, all getting down below zero, much of the rest of the region in the single digits. We'll see that high pressure generally continuing today, so once we burn off those low stratus clouds that we've got here and there this morning, generally see some sunshine. We'll see temperatures rebound into the mid-20s, some upper 20s across the region as we get into the afternoon, but no precipitation is expected. Going into your Saturday, another cold morning, particularly for our normally colder spots, again getting below zero, generally down into the single digits and low teens across the rest of Southeast Idaho. High temperatures getting into the mid to upper 20s. You might see some 30s, very close to the freezing mark here from Twin Falls to Burley to Pocatello. Again, dry weather. Take a look at the weather map here. Generally a broad area of high pressure in place. One caveat to that we'll mention here, and I'll bring up this next image, there's a hint in some of the computer model guidance of a couple very weak subtle disturbances trying to move through during the day on Saturday, actually starting Friday evening and then heading into Saturday evening. And they look a little overdone. There's really not a lot of large-scale support out there to produce precipitation across our region, but at the same time, it's hard to completely discount because there are a couple of those hints in our guidance that there may be just enough lift to generate a shower or two. So we have introduced a very low chance of some isolated snow showers from the Island Park area down into the Teton Valley and then across our eastern highlands and the Caribou Highlands here. Very low impact, very light activity, low confidence in a lot of this materializing. If we do see a few snow showers, we're looking at a dusting to an inch possible in those areas from Saturday morning right through Saturday evening. Another cold morning on Sunday with low temperatures across the region. And actually, if you get in, it's hard to see on this map, but if you get into some of the higher elevations, you'll actually see those slightly warmer temperatures in the mid to upper teens compared to some single digits and below zero readings down at the surface. And that's courtesy of our inversion air mass that's in place. Sunday, high pressure generally still in control with a mix of sun and clouds. No precipitation expected. High temperatures again getting into the upper 20s to low 30s across our area. Here's a look at Monday morning low temperatures, and we are expecting a pattern change on Monday. Next storm system will make a run at our area and finally break our dry weather streak and our inversion air mass. We're pushing the timing of the system back a little bit. Models are generally trending slower, so other than a few isolated snow showers in the western central mountains Monday morning, may include the Stanley area, I think it's going to be later in the day on Monday when we start to see activity expanding across the rest of southeast Idaho with this next system. First glance, it looks like precipitation amounts are going to be fairly light Monday into Tuesday. That's it for your hazard briefing this morning. If you have any questions, please reach out. Have a great day.